Hello and welcome to another episode of the SNEV podcast. Today we have two guests on the show, that's Jason and Maria, and they are from the MOVE initiative. So they're going to be telling us all about the initiative, sort of where it came from, how it works. So do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Okay, so I can start. I'm María Yáñez-Mó, so I'm the current president of the Spanish Society of Extracellular Vesicles, which we call GEIVEX. And which I think that with the UK and the German society were the first three societies to start with this MOVE initiative before pandemic times. And now things have grown and evolved quite fruitfully, I would say.
Hi Liam, thank you for the invitation. So I'm Jason Webber. I'm the current secretary of the UK Society for Extracellular Vesicles, which we all shorten to UKEV. So UKEV, along with the Spanish Society, the German Society, and a couple of others, were really instrumental in forming the MOVE initiative. And really that, from a UKEV point of view, that was started first of all by Dave Carter and then carried on by our current president, Charlotte Lawson. So hopefully I do them justice by representing UKEV.
So how many of these national societies are involved in the MOVE initiative?
Yeah, so as I said, this is something in progress, always evolving. So the first call we launched, it was only the three societies, UK, German, and Spain. We launched it in the worst time ever, so we got no applications because we just were all at home with the pandemic. And then when we finally could move around, then the word already spread around, and there were a lot of societies already interested in joining. So I think that the first real MOVE call already included like 10 different societies, so Italian, Austria, and France, and I don't have the total list, so maybe stop mentioning countries, but this has been growing on the fly, so it's many different countries have started to think about creating their own society to give an impulse to EV research locally, and that has also been instrumental for the MOVE consortium. So because we really rely on different local societies in different countries, and one of our goals, besides mobility of students, is just to reinforce the societies in each country.
Yeah, we had our second MOVE symposium in Serbia last year in October 2024, and looking at that, I think we had just over 20 national societies present at the meeting, so it's absolutely fantastic to see the growth of the community, and this really highlights how everyone just wants to get together, interact, talk good science, and promote collaboration regardless of countries that we're in. So it's really exciting.
So were you around, Jason, at the very beginning? Were you involved at all?
Personally, from a MOVE point of view, less so. I'm incredibly grateful to people such as Maria and Charlotte and Bernd, etc., who really launched the initiative. I've been involved with UKEV since the beginning. My very first postdoctoral position was working on EVs back in 2008. So I feel like I've been around for a little while, even if not directly involved with MOVE. But as I said, a lot of the credit has to go to the guys who were there right from the beginning, who did launch the MOVE initiative.
So Maria, what was the sort of the mood at the very beginning? What was the inspiration, and what was it like when it started coming together?
Yes, I think it was a kind of a crazy idea from three guys. So Dave Carter and Bernd Giebel and Hernando del Portillo, who was our president. So we have been talking around this mobility thing. So we had from GEIVEX our own mobility call, but this was a national mobility call. And this was something that we started to promote just after our first meeting. We launched the first mobility call without money to pay for them. So, but we were relying already on what we could get from sponsors of our second meeting. So it was I was panicking. I was secretary at the time and I was panicking of getting rid of money that we didn't really have. But the idea from the beginning is to give back our members as much as possible. And so one of the things that we thought could be instrumental for fostering EV research that is technically challenging, was this kind of, mobilities and also training course that we also do. So then, these three crazy guys, so Bern, Hernando, and Dave, I think they met in Granada meeting. So in one of our GEIVEX meetings, we had both Bern and Dave as keynote speakers. And there's where they decided to start a European-based mobility call. I was secretary at that time, so I was involved together with Charlotte. I think she did a great job in just putting everything together in terms of logistics. And so we have a list of groups in all the different countries that can be selected. And that takes a lot of work in the shade, that is not so public, but so she did a great job in the first calls. Yeah.
So the mobility portion, that's obviously a major focus, right, with the name MOVE. What's involved there?
Yeah, so again, the real key driver for that is trying to give something back to our membership, particularly the early career researchers who perhaps don't get as many opportunities as the established researchers out there. So with the MOVE, we offer fellowships. These are to fund sort of relatively short visits to another lab. The idea is that you go to a lab outside of your home country, or at least the country where you're based for your current research post. So this gives the researcher a chance to gain skills, boost their networking, and ultimately hopefully form collaborations between the host lab and the home lab where the early career researcher has come from.
And sort of how many of these fellowships do you think you have helped support?
Yeah, so the initial scheme was to give freedom to the different societies. So as I said, this is a society-based idea. So each society, depending on their budget, they decide how many grants and how often. So we in Spain, we have 2 grants per year, but there are other countries that offer more. And so each society has to back up financially those fellowships from the students that are based in their country and that go abroad. So Spanish society will pay for the fellowships that go from Spain to any other country. And that's how things work. And then we started to do these MOVE meetings. So that was the second part of the MOVE initiative. The first one was in Malaga. And from these MOVE meetings, we also were able to raise a little bit of money. And some of this money go to what we call special MOVE fellowships. And those cover the expenses of early researchers from countries where their society is small or young so they don't still have funds to cover their fellowships. So we had 4 fellowships derived from Malaga. a couple of them from Belgrade. And I hope that the Tartu will be this autumn a great success again, and that we can repeat the special call and also give opportunities to countries where the things are going slower or started later. In any case, every country can be a receiver of collaborations and fellows.
So what's the process if someone wanted to apply for one of these MOVE fellowships that you guys support?
Again, I think there may be some variation between the national societies, because we were keen that the societies had the freedom to manage the fellowships in the way they felt served their members the best. But certainly with UKEV, and it's probably fair to say for the majority of the societies, there's a sort of application process. You can go on to the UKEV website. There's a tab there which lists all of the potential host institutions across the various national societies, and that's updated on a semi-regular basis. And then from the UKEV perspective, we have a relatively simple form that you have to complete. So the idea would be that you name the host lab. The applicant would write just a very short statement on what they hope to achieve during the visit, and also how they think this might benefit their career. So this is one of the key things we're aiming to do, is boost those opportunities to expand CVs, help early career researchers to gain new skills. So it really is a simple process, kind of the standard stuff you'd expect, really.
Are there any great success stories that you've heard of and can think of, particular people who've struck up a particularly valuable collaboration, or potentially, something personal, maybe they've moved over to that country afterwards? Anything you can think of?
Yeah, so we had, I would say, many papers coming from the national mobility fellowships, which have been running for a longer time in our society. From moves, I think we have now 8 movers, what we call, so 4 different calls. And so I should check back if there has been any publications from them. We usually, what we did in Malaga and also in Belgrade, there were some movers around, is try to also give them the opportunity to show their data in the MOVE meetings. So that's another way of providing visibility to this MOVE opportunity. And there were, in Malaga, we had 8 different movers from different countries, and the data they presented, it was great. So I'm sure that there will be nice publications coming from that.
I think that's the key thing. I'm going to put my hand up here and say, well, of course I'm biased. I think MOVE is absolutely fantastic, but it really depends on the measure of success that you're looking at. I think there are many. Maria has already highlighted the MOVE symposiums. All of the recipients of the fellowships get invited to the MOVE symposium. Just by actually getting one of these fellowships and attending a placement within a lab that's outside of your host institution, or your home institution, your home country, I think that in itself is a success for the applicant. It's sometimes difficult to actually gauge all of the benefits that you receive, but I was very fortunate in my own career. I went on a similar initiative, and just being surrounded by different people, gaining expertise from a different lab, gaining that slightly different way of thinking, it was really beneficial. You can't measure those skills that you gain by doing such initiatives. So certainly for any young SNEV members listening to this podcast, I would say please do apply for MOVE. It really is a great scheme.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Just going to live in another country and is very good for you personally in terms of your life skills, and also, yeah, obviously the professional skills. It's opens up a whole new world. I guess, do you have any, because it is quite a big thing to move to another country and set up there for a time. Do you have any suggestions or advice for people who are maybe a little bit unsure about that? I mean, where did you go, Jason?
So I in my career, I've had two sort of short stints abroad. The first was to the CIC Bayagune in Bilbao, and the second was to the Erasmus MC in Rotterdam. And both of those experiences were slightly different in some ways. For me, I think the key thing is probably planning. It's a bit like sort of any scenario, I guess. Starting in a new lab, you're suddenly sort of trying to work out where the equipment that you might need is, even things that we maybe take for granted, but the logistical issues of posting samples back and forth or anything you need to do like that. So I would say have a little bit of planning to begin with. Make sure you know where you're going to be based, where you need to go, just to kind of maximize the time that you spend in the lab. But also try to be flexible. Certainly, we often say, well, that's science. Things don't necessarily work first time or go to plan. And certainly when you go into a different lab, and that was certainly my biggest sort of challenge, I would say, for want of a better word. You kind of parachuted in almost and trying to find your feet. You want to gain as much as you can there. But equally, I was incredibly fortunate. I was surrounded by great people who supported me and helped me through that process. So my advice would be plan before you go. Communicate with the host lab that you're visiting, obviously. Sometimes for early career researchers, it can be a little bit scary talking to the professor who runs the lab. So see if there's another PhD student or a postdoc who you can liaise with. They can help you with all those kind of perhaps questions that you don't want to ask the big professor in the group, but things like sort of recommendations for hotels to stay in and sort of where are the nice places to eat, all of that sort of thing. We talk about the science, and I think you should maximise the experiences you gain from a scientific perspective, but it's also fun going to new places as well. Try to maximise the personal gains as well. See if there's any must-see sites nearby that you should make a special trip to in the weekends, perhaps, whilst you're there. So, yeah, try to build connections before you go, and then you're not just meeting people for the first time or trying to build those connections. Maybe there's a few people within the lab who you've already exchanged emails with, perhaps had a bit of a chat with online. So, yeah, it kind of feels like you're meeting friends as opposed to meeting strangers for the first time.
Yeah, I think it's fundamental, this networking before and also after, because sometimes you just plan mobility. What we usually try to read in the applications is that there has been some thinking on what is the actual plan during the stay. But this doesn't mean that you're going to get actual data that you can then translate into a manuscript. But sometimes it's just to learn a new technique and then go back home and do all the replicates. But then, I mean, as Jason was pointing out, it's not only important to do science, but the networking that you do when you go to a different lab is also crucial, also not only for making friends, which is also a nice thing of this, but also in the future, because you never know when would you need someone else's help or collaboration in future projects. So that's why we also try in these MOVE meetings, we also try to have very reduced prices for registration, and we also encourage, and I think that this is reflected in the program, that there are early career researchers actually presenting their data not only as posters but also in the oral communications. So if you compare the MOVE meetings with other bigger meetings like ICEF or ICEF, for the most part, I think that the most striking difference is the role of early career researchers in these MOVE meetings. So it's a great opportunity to go there and trying to find out people that might be crucial in your scientific career at different aspects. So I think it's everything is summing up, and the EV's community is relatively young. And I think that from the PIs to the early career researchers, I think that we have managed to create a real community of people. So when you go to EV meetings, I know that I'm going to find a lot of friends and have beers with many of them. And I see that also the younger people, they also have this same feeling. So they are going to re-meet people that they already know from previous meetings or that they have been collaborating before. And I think that is building up a lot, that will be reflected afterwards in the scientific success of the field.
Yeah, I think you can pat yourselves on the back for contributing to that culture of interconnection in the EV field. Well done. So a little bit more about the meeting. It would be maybe a little bit more focused on networking than just presenting, results. Do you guys have many sort of events during it that cater to that kind of thing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think again we've had our first 2 MOVE meetings now, and the planning for the third one is really underway, and we're looking forward to our third meeting later this year. So it's very much a mix, really. There's the sort of standard sort of oral and poster presentations. There are networking opportunities as well. And we've been really lucky. We've so far we've been to 2 fantastic places. As I said, the planning for the third meeting is underway, and I think this is looking equally as good as the other 2. I always say to students and postdocs in my lab, networking is just as much an important part of any sort of conference or scientific meeting as the presenting of the data, and ultimately the success or not of networking really comes down to the individuals, and this is something that I feel really grateful for to the whole MOVE consortium. We're all a lovely bunch of people. I've got to chat to Maria, Bernd, some of the names mentioned already, Hernando, etc. And I feel like I'm making friends with all these superstars in the scientific community who I've read their papers, but now we're hanging out at these meetings. So, that's. I'm not sure if that answers the question completely, but there's plenty of opportunity at these MOVE meetings. It's all about being bold and going out and grabbing this opportunity whilst it's there, and sharing a beer with colleagues, meeting for coffees, and talking about all the science and all the other things we so rarely get that opportunity to talk about in person.
So would you like to tell us a little bit more about this upcoming meeting? perhaps starting with where in the world it will be located.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's already planned for Tartu in Estonia, and this is going to be early in October. So registration and is open. Abstract submission, I think, closes tomorrow or on Monday. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not sure if there's going to be any extension. Usually it is, but I don't promise it because this depends on the local organizing committee, which is the people from Estonia this time. And yeah. And then the idea is to have it, so we had the first one in Malaga 2 years ago, then last year, in Belgrade, and this year in Tartu. So it has been 3 years in a row. But now the idea is to have, MOVE meetings every other year. So biannually. So the first MOVE meeting started because ISEF was going to be outside from Europe for 2 years. So that, there was not going to be any European meeting on EVs for 3 years in a row. So that's why we thought that it could be a good idea to go to Malaga, and then we didn't want to lose the momentum of the MOVE thing, and then we went to Belgrade. But the idea is that after Tartu, we will have 1 year without MOVE meetings, and then every other year MOVE meetings, so they don't collide as much with national society meetings, which are also important because they have their own niche and public. I think all these different scientific meetings, they all look the same, but each of them have their own speciality, and it's important also to connect locally, but also, in terms of, Europe or internationally, and the people that attend, each one of them is slightly different. And as I said before, I'm really happy to see that the MOVE has been, able to gather more early career researchers than other meetings in the field. And because I think that was one of our, what was one of our goals when we started all this MOVE story.
Yeah, that definitely gives it a bit of a unique quality. How many people usually will have attended the last couple of meetings?
Well, the first one, we were almost 400 people. Then the second one was a little bit a little bit smaller. And I don't know, this third one, we will see.
Yep.
So it's always difficult to say because we all wait until the very last day to register, and we are always on the deadline. So, so you can't really plan.
Bit anxiety inducing for the team involved organizing it. Yeah. Is there anything else you guys would like to share about the upcoming meeting or the MOVE initiative in general?
Yeah, as Jason said before, I would encourage all early career researchers to take a look at their national societies, because they might have opportunities for them, not only MOVE meetings, but also training schools or fellowships or whatever. So each society, I think that they are all doing great jobs in fostering early career research opportunities. And so in Spain, we have now like 3 different mobility calls. So the national, the MOVE, that was among European countries, and now we started with the Ibero-American call. So we are expanding our reach based on our language competition.
I think Maria's just touched upon a key point there, that sort of MOVE really supplements all of the activity of the national societies, which are each independently doing a absolutely fantastic job of supporting their early career researchers. But there are some things that we can only achieve by coming together, and this is really this is where MOVE sort of comes in, and perhaps where MOVE has its niche, that we can sort of foster that collaboration across the different societies. And a key goal of MOVE was to support the early career researchers right from the very beginning.
Yeah, obviously it plays a pretty unique role in connecting all these individual societies. I can't really think of a better note to wrap it up on. I hope this has been informative for all of our listeners. Thank you so much, guys, for agreeing to talk to us today. Would love to see you around at SNEV events at some point, or hopefully see you at a conference one day. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much.